I've got Agnes Nonsinzi on the line with us, joining us live on the Spice Drive. Welcome, girl.
Oh, thank you so much. How are you?
I'm doing great, as you can see, embracing technology. I get to see you. As much as we're social distancing, you're close to my heart. I'm glad that you are here.
Yes.
Talk to me. The conversation today on the treadmill is interesting about the challenges of managing a remote team. There's a lot of staff who've been sent home, and employers are also trying to understand as they go along and still maintain, the employers and try to make sure that people still have their jobs. Okay? These are scary times. We're having a lot of people not understanding how to deal with it, right? So we've got innovators, we've got the creatives, we've got people who, whether it's about COVID or not, they've been using digital media, they've been using social media platforms to work from home. They can do their conference calls, they understand how to use technology. But someone has asked me an interesting question on the timeline, and they said, okay, so what about the people who do not know how to connect that Zoom call and they cannot, or they were not prepared well enough to work from home? What are the challenges you're facing working remotely?
Personally, I can't say really that I'm feeling the challenges because the nature of my job is I've had a home office for a very long time.
Yes.
So for me, it has been probably like a continuation, but the effects are felt when you can't go out and network, because our business, which is PR or music PR, is very much heavily reliant on networking.
Yes.
But I have my colleagues who are finding it very challenging in other areas, because I'm in different groups of professionals that I've joined. And one of the challenges is, like you've said, there are people who are not tech savvy. They don't know how to connect to that Skype.
Yes.
And I can say personally also I've been affected, because at one point we were used to just the WhatsApp calls and everything, but now we need to go a little bit professional. Like this is the first time I'm using Zoom,
right?
To be honest. Yes. So and even the other day I had to revive my Skype, because these are not the things that we do usually. I had to revive my Google Hangouts, you know. So but I can say one of the things is, if you have internet, there's a lot of tutorials on YouTube. So you just need to download and go slowly and check this is how you go about it. There's even I'm doing a course right now on LinkedIn Learning, which is how do you go about working remotely? How do you discipline yourself? How do you do time management? So we've had to do a switch, but like they say, change is inevitable, but it's here. We've been forced to change, and it's the high time that we adapt to it. And even like companies that did not have PR companies, they were not heavily reliant on PR. There's something that maybe a conversation that we can have. And we are seeing human relations department handling employees differently. And this is the time now to be able to win trust with your employees. It's time to bond more with them. It's time to assure them that it is a difficult time. It's time to have that conversation of the salary cut. As much as it's a very difficult conversation, everybody is looking for trust and comfort.
You see, I am looking at what you're saying, and it just hit me that a lot of that has come up. A lot of people feel like without that face-to-face interaction, do I really have the team? Without that face-to-face interaction, do I still have support of my boss? How is it, and psychologically, there's people who feel like being in the workplace, you've had a home office for a while, but there are people who have to be in that space. Almost like people
to wake up and shower.
Right. Like I need to beat my face. I need to feel like I'm in another space so that I can feel like I'm actually working. We're having a lot of people having to adapt the courses that they offer, a lot of the classes that they offer for their clients. We've seen this in different areas. What would you say to someone who says, okay, fine, we can use technology, we can embrace technology, but there's trust involved. There's that reassurance of knowing that it brings about a sense of do we actually get the work done? Because you still have to be professional.
Yeah. Yes, I will share with you some tips that I got from Cindy Nyamai's live. She has gone live a couple of times. Yeah.
Yes.
And there's a time she was talking about how to manage a crisis, because this is a crisis. You know, we are in a crisis. Nobody saw it coming. So how do you go about, because there are employees who are used to seeing you, who are feeling the void. There are people who don't know how to discipline themselves.
Right.
How do you go about reassuring them or telling them, okay, now you're done with printing, go do photocopying, or you're done with this, go do this. There are people who are used to taking instructions.
Right.
So how do you go about that? And the first thing is, if you're a company, whether it's more or like a small one like me, I've had to do everything. But if you have a team, make sure that you put a team together that is going to be handling your employees right now,
Yes.
Include a HR person, include a PR person, include yourself. You're going to be leading the team. And so that you can be able to, like for the HR comes in when you have to reassure them. If you need to create a WhatsApp group where you say, okay, today we are going to do ABCD. We're going to have our meeting at this time. Let me tell you, Monique, right about now, it's about trust. It's about, even if there are difficult conversations of, even if it's your suppliers, because we're forgetting that there are people who are in business.
Yes.
There are people who are supplying things from outside the world or whatever. You're not able to import. You're not able to export. So it is the time to have. And another thing is, don't ignore calls from your employee, from your suppliers. Even if right now I owe you money, I should not ignore your call. Because the minute I do that, I am announcing that I am unable to handle this situation.
Right. Right.
There's the artists who owe me money right about now, and I wish they can just pick up and say, you know what, Nonsinzi, whoever we're expecting to pay, they have not paid. I can't pay you with the little that I have because I don't know how this situation is gonna go. But I assure you, I'm gonna pay you. Communication.
I can hear how passionate you are when you're talking about musicians who are also working from home. They've been entertaining us, doing an awesome job. It's been amazing just seeing so-and-so go live and put up a show. We're currently waiting for fresh updates because of the press briefing that is ongoing. But yesterday, there was a lot of things that were spoken about. And one of them was the Ministry of Sports, Culture and Heritage to avail 100 million Kenyan shillings from the Sports Fund to artists, actors and musicians during the period of the COVID-19 pandemic so as they can continue to entertain their fellow brothers and sisters through TV, radio and the internet. Why was this so sensational? Why did people find this so sensational? Is this one of those things that we call good PR? Why is everyone so passionate about this?
Okay, so first of all, I call it a good initiative from the president.
A good initiative.
Because let me bring you, yes, it's a good initiative, yeah. But I tend to think and feel it's done at the wrong time. Yeah.
Why do you say so?
Because I want to understand from a common mwananchi who is worried about, one, their next meal, two, their what do you call it? If I get this disease, how do I deal with it? We have been having issues of ICU. Our health workers right now have been complaining, right?
Yes.
But I want to bring the Monanchi up to speed as to where we have been as an industry.
Yeah.
We are talking of artists who do not receive their royalties.
So this is a pipe dream.
Yes, we are talking of artists who their money has been held by other people apart from them, you know?
Right.
And let's talk about the 200 million that he said that will be paid us from this month. This directive, he gave it in January,
Yeah.
So this is a call to the CMOs, the Kekobos, the PR, the PRISC, the MCSK. They've been having this. So actually, let's not talk about that. 100 million first. The 200 million is money that rightfully belong to the artists, but they've not been getting it.
Right. So you also don't want to be excited about the 100. You don't want to be excited about this before we I
don't want to be excited about the 100 million because remember, we have a broken system. We have a broken system in that I don't even know whether the artist will get this money. And we're not talking about musicians only. We are talking about actors. We are talking about actresses. We are talking about music producers. We are talking about film producers. We are talking about artists who actually draw,
I hear you.
I think Kenyans are angry, and I would understand their anger and where it's coming from.
But my question to you is, realistically, whenever we see stuff like this, and I'm not a stakeholder, I just really love to sing in the shower. We assume that publicists and our labels, people that are in touch with musicians are always involved by the time they come to a decision like this, by the time they say 100 million, by the time they come up with a figure. And, I had questions like, okay, why 100 million? What does this mean? We're having questions of people say, okay, we need you to address other things right now. You need to switch from some of the things you had prioritized as part of your legacy. There's other things you need to look into and shift things a little bit, because governments around the world are now changing. Okay, what they had set out to do for 2020, we called it 2020. Now you have to really adapt and change and make sure you're engaging people the right way, in a way that's effective, in a way that they feel like you're in touch with the things that's happening. Is it that musicians and people like you who are in the business, you're underwhelmed because you're feeling like, okay, you're not in touch? What do you think this 100 million could have been directed to instead?
Actually, the 100 million is being gotten from the sports fund, right? The sort of kindergarten and whatnot. And it's to see us during the COVID, pandemic, right? To be honest, there's not been communication because I've not seen people who represent the artists said, you know what, we were in the know, and this is how, because right now, what our president has done, he has lit a fire. Artists are being attacked, of course, because the anger should not be directed to them. It should be directed to the right people. Because they just raise their concerns, because yes, artists have been raising their concerns, because if they can't perform, if they can't do anything, then how are they going to feed their loved ones? I would understand anybody else has those concerns, And there's a notion that our artists are rich. Honey, they're not. Honey, we are not rich. Because, like I said, our money has been with other people, but I feel like yes, there is loss of touch because it, like I said, it was a good initiative executed wrongly. Because again, if people complain about the health workers, I want to ask: there's 500 billion that has been given by the World Bank. I mean, that is to see us during this bad time. That money can be directed to the health workers, because other countries have been assisting their artists, They have been. But again, all our systems in Kenya are broken down. My problem is people feeling like artists are not... They're not people. Some people
wanted to be sarcastic about it and shoot it down. But I hear you. Right now, I think your profile is going to change after this interview from entertainment publicist to something else. You are quite the talker. I love it. Before I let you go, as we talk about working from home, and shout out to every single creative person who has just found a way to just make things work. Everyone is trying to ignite their own fire, and we respect what everyone is trying to do in their own little way. But what are the opportunities? What is the silver lining in this situation, whether as an entrepreneur or even as a publicist in the music business? There's so many spheres that you're professional in, whichever way you look at it. And also as a mwananchi, you're out here trying to do the very best. You're a mother, you're a parent, you're a wife. There's people who also say it's unrealistic to say working from home is going to work. We're not taking mental health very seriously. There's so many different layers of this. And once we do come out of it, inshallah, we're going to wake up and say, okay, wow, what was that? Where's the silver lining for you? Because I can tell you're pretty lit right now. What are the opportunities in this time? What good can you leave us with?
Okay. So starting from where I am, this is a pandemic that has placed all of us on the same level. Whether you're an upcoming artist, whether you're big, whether it doesn't matter, all of us are playing from here, right? I understand there are issues of tension, uncertainties, but if you utilize this time very well, deal with your issues, be able to plan, be able to know, once this comes, we are able to come out of through it. This is what I'm gonna do. So all of us have been brought back to the drawing board unwillingly,
right?
So it is, and I always say, it is you to decide whether it's going to make you better or bitter, because you can come out with either or.
I love it. Better or bitter.
Or better or bitter. You're going to come out with it either or. You're going to say, oh no, now it has affected my plans for the year. I wanted to do, all that. You can complain or you can sit down, because I remember like myself, I've sunk in for a few days. I've been like, what is going on? I don't understand. But
you had to hug yourself. You had to just...
Yes, I'm like... Yes, my child is at home. Even when we go back to school fees is not 2 shillings. How am I going to be able to afford this? Then again, I'm like, okay, whining and crying. I need to set a whole day. Then I can cry and write and cry about it. Then after that, what am I going to do about it? Then also, this is a wake-up call when it comes to so many things. Like for me, it has been a wake-up call when it comes to finances and taking it seriously.
Right.
The minute someone tells you to save, you don't think that... we don't, I personally sometimes are like, whatever, we're going to go through it anyway, Yes. But this is, sometimes you need to go back and say, okay, these things are serious. When someone tells you, you need to be able to have at least 3 or 4 months. I understand there's someone who lives hand to mouth. For sure, I do. I've been in that scenario where in the house and you don't even know where your rent is going to come from. But I do say bad situations don't last. They don't, Monique. But whatever we come out of this situation is gonna, the ball game has changed completely for everybody.
Yeah.
And we're gonna feel the change.
Right. And this is probably the most transforming time for a lot of people. I think what stood out for me is what this is going to make you be. Bitter or better. Thank you so much.
Better.
Thank you so much, Nonsinzi, for joining us. And I'm definitely going to have you, once we're done with all this, there's a lot of people would love to invite to come through to our studio here and have a real proper chat. But I embrace technology. Thank you so much for joining us on the Spice Drive. You're awesome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
This Zoom thing is your friend, yeah? This Zoom makes you look good. You should use it more often.
Oh, it does?
Yes.
You look so good too, Mom. And keep doing what you're doing. And stop singing in the shower. Excuse me.
I will sing some more. Thank you so much for coming through to the Spice Drive.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.